Hey, what's up you guys, Vac Attack here, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Bissell Liftoff Revolution. Now, I recently got this machine about 2 days ago. I actually bought this from Marco, just like I did the DC-07, so yeah. It is in very nice condition, as you can see. It's pretty mint, except this height adjustment knob does not want to turn this way for whatever reason, so I gotta figure out what's going on there. But other than that, this thing's pretty mint. It picks up pretty well. I have used it a couple times, so it is a little dirty on the inside, but that doesn't matter. But yeah, he had this for sale because I remember I mentioned in a server that I've been wanting a liftoff for a while, and he reached out to me, told me, hey, I have a liftoff for sale. And I was like, okay, how much? He sold it to me for about 45 bucks plus about $18 in shipping. So I spent about 50, 60 bucks on this thing in total with shipping and everything, which that is a little crazy, but considering these things went for almost $200 when they were brand new, I think that's a pretty good deal. So yeah. Let's get started on the review. So obviously this is a lift off. So they call it lift off because you push this button and the whole thing comes off. So it doubles as a canister vac, which is really nice. While we're here, you can see this actually has two separate power switches. This one's for power and this one's for brush. That's obviously for when it's connected to that. There's connectors that, when they're connected, you know, it connects to the brush and the headlight. The headlight comes off, obviously, whenever you take this off, but when you put it on, this headlight comes on, which, speaking of headlight, I did put an LED in here because, you know me by now, I love my LED bulbs. I don't know what it is, but I love my LEDs. But yeah, this is detachable. So you can use it as a canister vacuum, you know, to get upstairs or something. But yeah, I think that's a nice feature to have. And then reattaching it is straightforward. Now it's on there again, and you can use it as an upright. I did mention the two power switches, because yes, this does have a separate brush roll motor. Obviously it has to, because, you know, of this being a lift away or a lift off. I keep saying lift away because Shark has something similar called the lift away for the rotator and the navigator, but it's essentially the same thing as this, but this one's just called the lift off. This particular one's also a Revolution, so as you can see, it has two things on the side to where fine dust is supposed to go into, and as you can see, it does kind of work. What this is supposed to do is kind of help the filters a little bit, which it kind of works, but I used this maybe once or twice, and as you can see, the filters still get pretty dirty, but it's not that bad. It's definitely better than like a regular lift off or like a regular clean view, because they make clean view Revolutions and clean view power track Revolutions as well, which the Revolution system, it's not the best, but it does help out just a little bit. You also do have a pre-motor filter here. This one's very clean. Like, there's barely any dust on this motor, which is actually nice. Sorry, this filter. I don't know why the heck I said motor. I am so sorry. But yeah, there's barely any dust on that pre-motor filter. So that's nice. But yeah. And washing these out is very easy too. You just pull these out and then you can just wash the whole thing out if you really need to. It's very nice. And then this upper tank, very similar to the early clean views, has a knob on the back, which you twist, then the whole thing comes out. Then you can just clean it out. So these things are super easy to maintain. So that's one thing that's always been nice about the early liftoffs and the early clean views. I do not understand why Bissell took away this feature, but they did. Because with the ones that have that outer circular filter under the dust cup or whatever, yeah, those filters, actually, no, I think they both filter about the same, really. Both setups are equally as bad. Like, that's one thing I will always say and I'll always stand by. Filtration on these bagless Bissells are god awful. Like, it's not even funny. But as long as you keep up with the machine's maintenance, it's not going to be that bad. Now, at least with the Revolution system, you don't have to clean out the machine every single time you use it. So that is nice, but you still have to clean it out every few uses. Meanwhile, something like a Bissell Power Force bagged or like even a Dyson, you only really have to empty it out and you don't really have to worry about cleaning out filters and stuff because these Dysons have actually effective cyclones and actual good filtration. I don't know if they're sealed systems, but I know the cyclones are at least effective. But yeah, then you do got to remember Bissells are also, they're budget machines. They're cheap. You know, they're not high-end at all by any means. For the price, they're not bad. They're definitely decent machines. But yeah. I like Bissells. I like the bagged ones. I do like the bagless ones too. I just don't run them as much because, you know, having to constantly clean them out can be a pain sometimes. But, you know, it doesn't bother me all that much just because that's just kind of what I expect. So, yeah. Now, if you're wondering why this turbo brush is weird, it's because this was not... It was missing all the attachments. It didn't come with any of them, not even the turbo. So I had an extra Clean View Helix brush roll running, or not brush roll, turbo brush, just laying around. So I just slapped that on here for now. Yes, I know it's mismatched, but it's honestly better than nothing. I will eventually get the proper, you know, turbo brush and everything, and the proper attachments. But for now, it'll work. Now, if you take a look at the back, this one has the HEPA exhaust filter on the back for some reason. Actually, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting design. It's not like in the way or anything. It's just sometimes when you're vacuuming, you can feel the hot air blowing onto like your legs or your feet or whatever, and it can be a little bit weird. Now, this one does have a decently long hose, but then again, since you can, you know, lift this off and take it with you anywhere, it's not as much of a worry. This doesn't have the long one like most of the other older Bissells do, but again, that's really not much of a worry since this is a lift away. I'm just gonna call it lift away because that's basically what it is. You lift it away and you can take it with you anywhere, so that's not too much of an issue. And this is a stretch hose too, so you can get some range with this. But yeah, and then the foot release on this one is different. This one is kind of weird too, because most Bissells you have to push that twice for it to go flat, but this one, you push it once, and it just goes flat right away. I find that kind of interesting. I don't know if it's because it's a lift-off system or what, but that's kind of convenient and nice. And this one that lays nice and flat, although this machine's kind of bulky, so it's going to kind of stick out. That is one thing about this machine, is that it's more heavy and bulky than like a Clean View or a Power Force. But it is also significantly nicer and higher end than those machines because it has the brushless shutoff and everything. But yeah, these overall, very nice machine. It has all the stickers. At least I think it does. It has your 7-height adjustments, which I gotta figure out what's going on with that knob, but for now, it's fine. I just keep it in medium. And then I'll show the bottom in a second, but for now, let me show the model sticker. This one was made on the 5th day of 2008. And that is model, I think that says 3670-1. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Because I have kind of low vision, so sometimes it's hard for me to read stuff, but that's what I believe it said. I don't know how long the cord is on this thing, but I imagine it's a good 25 to 30 feet, because why wouldn't it be, since this is you know, $150, $200 machine, at least back in the day. Obviously, I didn't pay that much for this machine, but you get what I'm saying. And then the bottom, this one has the yellow brush roll, which is nice, but if something ever happens to this brush roll, then you're basically fucked, because it's almost impossible to find these yellow brush rolls nowadays. You can find a replacement brush roll, it would be black instead of yellow, so thankfully this brush is fine. Now this does take a belt, but it's different since this has a separate motor for the brush and everything. The height adjustment wheels are actually kind of nice, because instead of being plastic, it's made by metal, which I did not know about that until I got this thing. So that's kind of nice. Excuse me. I did forget to mention this also has the higher end like rubber bumper kind of setup like a lot of the power tracks and the higher end Bissells had, which is nice. But yeah. Overall, this thing is a pretty nice machine. I am pleasantly surprised by it. I am pleasantly surprised by how quiet it is. Oh, and another thing I did forget to mention this has that shocked me. This handle is a two-piece handle, but it's rubberized. So instead of it being your typical hard plastic, the back is like it's like a rubber, which is very interesting considering it's a Bissell. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. But anyways, enough chit chat. Now it's time to get to the best part about the machine. Running it. I have not done a full house vacuuming with this yet, so I am kind of curious, but also excited to see how this thing handles, you know, vacuuming up an entire house, at least the downstairs living room. But yeah, let's get started, shall we? Oh, wrong switch. Now this machine is a little heavier, so it is a little bit harder to push, but it's still very nice to use. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it almost does not feel like a Bissell. It almost feels like, you know, just like a Dyson, just a little funkier. So that brush roll is definitely nice and aggressive. Sorry, I didn't have it pointed, but as you can see, this does get nice and flat, which is really nice. That is stuck to the ground, like, I don't know what that is. I think that's, I don't know. That's gonna have to get, carpet cleaned with an actual carpet cleaner, but otherwise this will pick it up easily. Pretty decently bright headlight. Then again, it is an LED light, but I don't know for sure. Now let's take it to the other part of the living room. This thing's not very loud at all either, especially for a 12 amp Bissell. Like it might be quieter than my Power Forces and Clean Views, honestly. So yeah, what do I think of this thing? Well, I like it. I think it's a very nice machine. It doesn't feel as much like a Bissell as other machines would. But yeah, let's check see what it picked up. Okay, not bad at all. And as you can see, that revolution system definitely does help out a little bit. It definitely does work. Let's check the filter. It's pretty dirty, but it could be worse. So yeah, overall, this is not a bad machine at all by any means. It could be better, it could be worse, but it's definitely nice. So yeah. Anyways, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you next time. Peace.